What if I told you that one of the oldest unsolved mysteries in American history revolves around the sudden disappearance of a young woman? A woman who vanished without a trace 85 years ago, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a legacy of mystery. Who was she? What happened to her? Why has her disappearance remained unsolved for so long? Join me on this journey as we delve into the captivating story of this woman and try to uncover the truth behind her disappearance. This is a mystery that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Hello and welcome to the channel once again. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more such interesting content. Alright, let's get started now. Chicago, Illinois is a city located in the Midwestern region of the United States. It is the third largest city in the country, known for its rich history, diverse culture, and vibrant art scene. However, the unsolved disappearance of Mary Agnes Moroney from Chicago in 1938 remains a haunting mystery after 85 years. Investigators and true crime enthusiasts hope to find new clues and information to solve the case. On May 14, 1930, a woman going by the name of Julia Otis paid a peculiar visit to a young Chicago mother called Catherine Moroney. Julia Otis was a friend of Mary Agnes Moroney's mother, Catherine Moroney, and she visited Catherine's home on the day Mary Agnes disappeared in 1938. Julia asserted that Mrs. Henderson, a social worker, had sent her to the Moroney home to assist the family. In the Chicago Daily Tribune, Catherine and her husband Michael had published a public plea for Michael to be given a job. They already had two daughters, Mary Agnes, age 2, and Anastasia, age 1, and they were expecting a third. Because of their poverty, the Moroneys did not make enough money to sustain their growing family. During their brief conversation, Catherine revealed to Julia about their financial struggles. The woman appeared to have materialized out of thin air. Catherine had never met this woman before this day, yet she immediately felt comfortable with her. The woman talked in a quiet, educated voice and was quite pleasant. She was also well dressed. Julia stared at Mary Agnes, age 2, with great affection and longing when she saw her playing close. Catherine observed, but didn't think much of it, because her daughter frequently received reactions like that from others. Julia expressed her desire to transfer the young child to California, but Catherine was obviously not going to relinquish her infant to a stranger, especially to a location that far away. Julia gave Catherine $2 and advised that she and her husband go to a show that evening before she left. May 15, the following day, saw Julia's return. She begged Catherine to let her go shopping with Mary Agnes and buy some new outfits. There was good weather outside, and Catherine had no reason not to have faith in this woman. The young child cried out for mother as the stranger led her away, as she sensed something wasn't right as Julia and Mary Agnes were leaving. Then a shocking tragedy happened. Mary Agnes was never seen by Catherine again. When Catherine's husband arrived home that evening from work, and neither Mary Agnes nor the women had arrived. They called the police. Catherine was unable to adequately describe Julia Otis. She was only able to describe the woman as being lovely, 22 to 23 years old, 5 feet 2 inches tall, and weighing about 125 pounds. The young lady was dressed in a gray suit with blue trimmings and a lace cap, as described by Catherine. She additionally had a glittering wristwatch and a pearl necklace. Authorities examined trains and buses headed to California right away, but to no avail. A woman resembling Julia was reportedly seen by several witnesses, dictating a letter to an elderly woman in a toilet of a store in downtown Chicago. This lady was accompanied by a young child who resembled Mary Agnes. Julia sent Catherine a note and money on May 16. "Please don't be alarmed. I have taken your little girl to California with me. I have hired a special nurse to take care for her. We will be back in 2 months. By that time, you will be on your feet again and will be able to take care for her." She didn't even cry a bit. She is outfitted like a princess. In the meantime, I'll help all I can get to you on your feet. Don't worry about her or anything else. When you get this letter, we will be on our way already. As ever, Julia Otis. The Moroneys got another letter from Mrs. Eliza Henderson, who identified herself as Julia's cousin, a few days after they had previous one. She claimed that Julia was a decent young lady who had recently lost her spouse and child within the previous 2 years and wanted to have another child. Mrs. Otis had pined for the company of a child due to losing her own, and that was why she took your little girl. The police never found Julia or the child again, nor did they ever find this woman, who went by the name of Alice Henderson, despite Alice's assurance that Julia would return the child shortly after. A young child of the same age and description was discovered with an Indian lady called Martha Thompson, who was apprehended in Rockford, Illinois, a year after Mary Agnes was kidnapped. Catherine, however, asserted that the young girl was not her child when she traveled to Rockford with law enforcement to identify the child as her own. She thoroughly examined the young girl, checking her teeth and other physical features, but concluded that this young girl was not Mary Agnes. This young girl did not have the red mark on her arm that Mary Agnes did. Authorities claimed that the mark may have been concealed because the young girl was suntanned. Eventually, Martha admitted to the police that the young girl with her was not her child, but she asked them to return her. It's unclear if they actually did. The identity of the young girl is still a mystery. A 24-year-old lady called Mary McClelland allegedly identified herself as Mary Agnes Moroney in September 1952. She had a striking similarity to one of the Moroney's kids and was adopted a year after Mary Agnes was abducted. After meeting with the woman, Catherine was confident that this was not her missing daughter. After examining Mary McClelland, an anthropologist concluded that she was a Moroney relative. However, a physician asserted that according to his records, he delivered Mary McClelland on November 17, 1927 at 3:30 in the morning. May 9, 1928 saw the birth of Mary Agnes. Mary McClelland did not have the birth scar left by a ruptured navel that Mary Agnes did. Genetic tests established Mary McClellan's paternity as Mary Agnes Moroney in 2005. 85 years after Mary Agnes was abducted, her case is still open, and neither she nor Julia Otis' whereabouts are known. I found it strange that Catherine was unable to describe Julia's appearance more accurately. She just stated that Julia was no older than 23, stood around 5 foot 2 inches, was stunning, and spoke with the sophistication of someone with an education. Why did she not probe the police with a more detailed physical description? Hair hue, eye color, lips and nose shape. Did she have any glasses, any moles, scars, birthmarks, etc.? When Catherine asked Julia for her name, she paused momentarily, which I also found weird. Although Julia was well prepared for this kidnapping, why did she assume the family would not want to know her name? How did Julia Otis learn that there was a 2-year-old girl living with the Moroneys? Was it referred to in the open appeal? Why didn't she choose Anastasia instead of Mary Agnes? Had she been snooping on the family before the kidnapping? And had Mary Agnes been the target of her attention? I think Alice Henderson, who wrote the second letter to Catherine, was the person Julia was dictating the message in the bathroom. It does make sense that Julia took Mary Agnes because she had lost a child. Living at 5200 Wentworth Avenue in Chicago at the time of the kidnapping was the Moroney family. In a washroom at a downtown shop, witnesses spotted a woman and a child that matched Julia's and the toddler's description. Was Julia going to Union Station, or did she live downtown, which is a few miles away from the Moroney's home on Wentworth? The girl and Julia could have easily boarded a train and left Chicago by the time the police arrived that day. But they didn't, and the police called the police, who arrived too late. The authorities initially checked the bus and train stations before speaking with Catherine and Michael at their home. After Michael had gone from home later that day, all of this had occurred. Julia might have never left Chicago. Is that possible? In addition to the large city, there are also many suburbs. The Chicagoland region would have been quite extensive even in 1930. Mary Agnes' appearance would have drastically changed as she aged to the point that neither her family nor anyone else would have recognized her. So Julia might have easily chosen to raise the child in Chicago. There is clearly a mystery surrounding this case, and Mary Agnes' fate will never be known. Mary Agnes might be dead, and Julia has been gone for a very long time. She would be 87 years old if not. After 1952, I was unable to locate any information on Catherine and Michael, not even a death certificate or obituary. I did learn that Harold, their son, passed away in 2011. In 1945, 15 years after his sister's kidnapping, he was born. Both Michael J. and his brother Patrick passed away in 1999. George and William were still alive when Harold passed away. According to Harold's obituary, George and Bill were living in Chicago and Phoenix respectively. I'm not sure if that is still the case though. Thank you for joining with us in this journey. We hope you like the content. If you do, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like the video. We'll see you in the next one.